Hey, welcome everybody. CJ, John, and David are hopping on to our call right now, so we should be started shortly. Just give us a few minutes and the show will begin. Really excited to talk about this week's episode.
Oh, just so you know, Jake,
Hello there.
the uh are we already did you already switch it
It's
over?
okay. What's up?
No, like when you share your screen, you got to make sure to put it on the desktop that you're capturing because
Yeah.
sometimes if you put it on the other screen, no, they don't see it.
Oh, sure, sure. But you guys can see what I was doing, right, CJ? Earlier when I was sharing my screen.
We can see it, but the
Oh
viewers can't.
yeah, when
Oh
you were
yeah,
sharing it
yeah,
with me,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I don't intend to share screen. All right. Anyways, hello there, and welcome to the Rogue
Hello there.
Podcast, a Star Wars show. Today, myself, Jake, David, CJ, and John will be discussing the penultimate, the finale of Andor season 1, episode 12, Rick's Road. Lots of stuff going on in this episode. I was very surprised by how much they jam packed into one episode. It seemed like it just never stopped. Not like super insane things happening. Like CJ said to me, nothing spectacular, but just lots of plot points going on in just one small episode. Um, so I'm excited to talk about just the thoughts we've had on the show, on this episode, and on the season as a whole. So without any further ado, I hope you guys enjoy the show. Please drop a like below if you can. It would really go a long way for us. We officially have reached 50 subscribers, so I
Woohoo!
know
Woo!
we're really hitting it big time now, boys.
Do
We
Um,
it.
made it.
but 50 subscribers on YouTube. I mean, we've got more elsewhere. But yeah, I'm excited. And please subscribe, like, send it to your friends. Oh, I did tell people I was gonna post this live on some
Use the force.
places. So, but yeah. Anyways, let me turn it over to you guys. You guys, let me know what you thought. Just your initial opinions going forward so far. Start.
David, go.
I'm
You
going.
just
All
you
right.
it's fresh in your mind, David. Go
Yep.
for it.
So it is very similar to how I expected it and predicted it would plan out. We just gather everybody at the funeral and have some intersecting fights and whatnot. It's interesting to see how many of the townspeople decided to stage a rebellion and fight and just get mowed down. Like
I,
always.
yeah, we
I
saw
We're so used to
how crazy
that.
the stormtroopers were.
Yeah, we're like, man, stormtroopers used to suck. Not in this. They're OP in this.
They really are.
Um, yeah, I like the ending. I don't have a whole lot else to say. It was definitely like split in two, where like the first half was really slow, and then the second half was, a lot of tension and whatnot.
CJ?
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar opinion. I said when I was talking to Jake, I thought it was good, but it was unspectacular. I don't know. We hit, I feel like half of the points that they had, like when we were talking about what we would think would happen this episode, last time. I guess my only wish is that they would have thrown in something to like throw us off because I don't know. I just feel like it played out too much as expected, honestly.
You'd have liked
But
some kind of
it was still
twist.
good. Yeah, just or at least something to like cause some tension, especially because we know like Andor's not gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably not gonna get caught. Like, and he's gonna end up like joining the rebellion at the end of the episode. That was kind of what we said. So, but I do think they did have everything in there that they needed to have for it to be like complete and to wrap up the season well. So overall, it was a good. It just I don't know.
It was safe, I guess. Not even safe. It was just yeah, it
Predictable.
was
Safe and
predictable and
predictable.
yeah, like nothing crazy really, but yeah, I tend to agree with all your takes so far. I mean, a couple nitpicks, um, which we can get into as we get through the series of events, but yeah, nothing crazy.
I'll tell you what, I loved it. I
Yeah.
honestly, this show for me has been near flawless. Like, I absolutely love this show.
Is it
I
because our bar is so low after
no, I this is
Kenobi?
just what I've looked for. Like,
Yes.
like for me personally, I my favorite shows: Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, shows that take their time to tell a great story, and I felt that this is what it's done. Like, it hasn't tried to say, Hey, let's have all kinds of spectacle and be everything Star Wars has always been. And I've loved what Star Wars has always been. But for me, this is just another different way to look at Star Wars, or a different way to tell a story. And they didn't like rush anything. You know what I mean? They told a story they wanted to tell exactly the way they wanted to tell it, and I loved it. And I totally understand if this is not the Star Wars that people are looking for, or like not the droids looking for, then it's not their thing. That's fine. But for me, this is just exactly something I've looked for. And now, do I want to see Star Wars with lightsabers and big space battles and stuff? I want to see that as well. But I'm totally fine having a separate show, an extra additional show that doesn't have that and tells a totally different part of the story. Like, I think if we did too many twists in this episode, for instance, it would have been a little cliche. I think sometimes things go the way you expect. You've got such big forces moving, and this is what would happen, right? Now, maybe you could argue that someone would get captured or killed, but riots are nuts. You cannot really predict what happens in them, right? So in this episode, we see a riot. Most people get away from riots. Some people get killed, but you would think that the people that are trained in kind of putting this on purpose are probably going to be the people least likely to get killed. Like, I saw some people complaining that no main characters got killed. In this case, that makes sense.
Brazo should have died. Let's be honest. Brazo should have been dead. Andor's best bud. He should have. He was in the middle of everything.
Usually
it wasn't a problem for me, but if we're going on that rabbit hole.
Now that's an interesting point. Usually, now in the National Guard, we do a lot of riot training. Like, it's one of the main things we focus on.
Interesting.
And you always look for an instigator. That's the only person that you really care about. You can make minor arrests of people that are actually doing something, and but that's not really a purpose. Like, it's not gonna affect anything. If anything, it makes people more angry. So you look for the person that's instigating, not necessarily the one that's the biggest and the strongest, right? And also, you don't go after the biggest and the strongest unless you're willing to kill them, or unless you have multiple people to go after them. So, assuming that we put that into place a little bit, yes, I think that if he was the person that they targeted as like the leader, then the Empire would have gone after him. But in all the madness of it, I mean, because here's one thing you mentioned, John, is you thought that they would have put all of this to bed like way quicker.
Oh, right away.
But I think the Empire
Hands
was
down.
just first caught very off guard. I disagree with you on that. And here's how. Here's why. They planned on starting this in the afternoon, right? And they started it 3 hours earlier. They planned on there only being 30 people is what they allowed a permit for. And there were thousands.
Which kind of from the beginning, if you think about it, from the beginning, they should have put an end to it, because right away they're going against what the Empire allowed them to, and their Empire is just getting rolled over.
Now, which
is odd.
Here's why I disagree with you, okay? I think, yes, if Deidre was not there, if the director of the ISB was not there, then you're absolutely right. They would have halted this whole thing, and they would have stopped it right away. But
Deidre was
if she were not there. But the thing is she has an ulterior motive. She doesn't care about any of this stuff. All she wants is just to be able to find Andor. And she's been throwing them everything they've tried to do. She's told them, nope, do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. I just want to get Andor alive. That's all I care about. Get Andor alive, get Andor alive. So now they're letting it happen because they're just trying to find Andor to come to this thing. And if they stop it all, then he's not going to come. If Empire just jumps in with all their guns and stops everything, then it backs off. So first off, the people that are in charge seem very much afraid. Let's just say right now, who are people in the Empire most afraid of? Their superiors, right?
The Emperor.
There's people that are overcharged of them, right? So like the person that's in charge, he's afraid of taking any action that his superiors might kill him for, right? Or demote him for. So I think that they're just sitting back saying, this is what she told us to do until we receive orders. Otherwise, let's do elsewise. And you can see the whole time. The guy is like trying, or he's getting like really worked up and looking around and like trying to step in, but knows that he hasn't been given orders to. And then all of a sudden he says, this is enough. I'm stepping in. Right? So I think that does make sense that it went the way it did. I think you're right. If Deidre was not there and this funeral was just happening and they weren't trying to capture Andor, they would have shut this down right at the very beginning, as soon as they broke the permit that they were given. But because they had an ulterior motive, they let it play out. So that's why I think that kind of makes sense. But overall, I've loved this show. I can't wait for season 2. I think that the ending makes really good sense. pretty much exactly what we expected. But I
Yeah.
think that I'm okay with that. I think that it did a
So-
really good job of telling the story of how Andor got to where he is.
This show had, if I give each episode 5 minutes, heck, I'll even give it like a little over 5 minutes of extra time. So I took the runtime, added them all up, divided by 60, took out an hour and a half. We have 8 hours of content
Mhm.
in this first season. Do I feel like we got 8 hours of content? Heck no. I feel like we got about 2 hours of content. I want a Kai cut of this season, and maybe that'll be watchable for me. But just
Really?
throwing out 8 hours of content for what we got, to me, it doesn't scratch my Star Wars itch.
So is it more so the time covered, or just the scope of the story that bothers you?
Honestly, the scope of the story, to an extent, I would have rather had a show called, it wouldn't have been a perfect name, but something like Birth of the Rebellion, or don't make it about Andor. Personally, to put it extremely, I don't care about Andor. I care about the Rebellion. If you want to show me how Andor got into the Rebellion and to kind of have a similar story, sure.
That's exactly what this
But-
is.
But then they
This is
try
a
to
s-
shoehorn Andor in a lot, and then they start a bunch of like we said at the beginning, they start a bunch of storylines that don't really matter and don't even come up again.
I mean, the only storyline that didn't come up again was just the sister.
I would argue, I mean, that's his entire upbringing. His entire history is just put to the side.
Yeah, but I think that the focus of this show is what brought him to become the man that we see in Rogue One. Because it's
But that's the other thing. I don't think we don't really see him, and I'm sure there can be reasons otherwise, but we don't really see him change that much. There's really not that much development in Andor. He still cares
I have
about
to
family.
disagree.
He always cared about family from the beginning of the episode. He cared about his mom.
Hmm. I
He
agree with
cares
that.
about his
I'm
mom
not
at the
saying
end
his
of the episode.
personality changed, but his motives and his choice of what he wants to do with his life is what's changed. He was always looking out for number one for him and his and the people that he cared about, but nothing outside of that microcosm. And now, by the time we've gotten to this show, we've seen how the Empire has driven him to now say, you know what they're doing to the rest of the galaxy and to everyone, it has to be stopped. To where we get to the point where he says, "Kill me or let me join you." I mean, that's just. I feel like that's the whole point of this show, was showing what got him from that point to where he is now.
Which I guess all things considered, I didn't. This isn't something maybe I'm just trying to say I didn't really want this show, and I guess that's like
Sure.
do I need a whole show to see why Andor went from no to saying yes? Not really.
See,
I guess that's just my take.
I will take any Star Wars that is good. So, like, if they want to tell me a story about, I don't know, a random Jedi in the Jedi Temple.
Oh no, we
During-
can't have Jedi.
during
we can't
attack.
have Jedi. Don't even go there.
No, like during the time of the regular Republic, right? If it's good and interesting and I enjoy it, sure.
No, he
I'm not the
said
one paying for it, right? It's
You
just on my
want some
Disney
moisture
Plus.
farmer.
If it's a good story in Star Wars, this is how I've always said it. A good story in the Star Wars galaxy, and I'll like it, right? And that's exactly what I feel this is. And it tells about
you
one of the most
didn't finish-
pivotal points of the galaxy.
I mean,
But you
could we
never
have a
finished
good?
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, sorry, the gameplay
Could
I can't get behind.
Could we have a good sitcom in the Star Wars universe?
Maybe. I'd watch it.
But do we need it for
You
the
don't
universe?
need it.
I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Not every Star Wars show has to be for every person. Like, if you like it, great. If you don't, that's fine.
For me, this show was at the wrong time,
What do you mean?
and we needed a truly Star Wars show that was good, and this is a thriller show with. You could change like a handful of things, and it wouldn't be a Star Wars show, and you
I just
wouldn't
think
say
that
like, "Man,
narrative
that
is
feels like
so
a Star
wrong.
Wars story."
I just think that's so wrong. That's not. I just can't disagree with that on any more basic level than I do. How is it not Star Wars? Because there's not lightsabers.
No, there's just little things that don't feel like Star Wars. What was I thought of one the other they were just like,
Only thing
really,
I
that
can really
doesn't-
think of that sticks out to me is on the planet when they were training and stuff. Those guns that they had looked like AKs.
But they looked like AKs in A New Hope. They literally took AK-47s.
No, they didn't. They
Yes.
took World War One weapons, and they
None of
took
them are
weapons
AKs,
that
bro.
they took World War.
But they took real guns and they just made them
Correct.
look like Star Wars. Is all I'm saying.
Exactly.
Just
Yeah,
like
but these-
the
things
these
flutes
just
they
look
did in
like
this episode.
AKs.
Yeah, the flutes,
These
the
literally
instruments
just
were
look
pretty
like
cringe.
AKs.
I was like, that's a French horn. That's a euphonium. That's
But
a
I mean,
flute with
air's
just
gonna
a
work
bunch
the
of-
same way in a
No,
galaxy far,
that
far
wasn't.
away
I
as it
was
does
just like,
here.
oh, okay. Stinking Mr. Bean on the shuttle with Luthen
Yeah.
talking
we
about.
actually called that. We said, what if he came back?
Did he? He didn't come.
The captain dude, they're switching hats? Or are you talking about something else? Oh,
No, I'm
not
talking
Luthen.
about Mr. Bean.
Yeah.
With this, he literally was a British
Yeah.
entrepreneur.
Early on in the show, you're saying.
It's like, yeah.
I don't know.
He was in
I
that?
just don't get. No, it wasn't actually Mr. Bean. I just don't get
Oh.
what bothers you guys about that kind of stuff. Like,
I mean, it's just the basis that
Mine is small.
Tony Gilroy isn't a Star Wars fan, so I guess what would I expect? I have to leave it to the art department to
But
make
like
it
the-
Star Wars.
yeah, but like the art department is the one doing those things, not Tony Gilroy. He's writing the story. I don't know. Like, for me, I just feel like that this was the best story we've had in Star Wars probably since Revenge of the Sith and Clone Wars. Like, and it's
By
not
Tales
close.
of the Jedi.
Okay, we're talking about a total of 34 minutes in that, and I would still put this over that.
I wouldn't,
Huh.
because it
And that's fine. If that's
like I said, but even like I said at the beginning of the show, if this wasn't in the Star Wars universe, would I watch it? No,
Oh,
I would
I
not watch this
absolutely
show if it wasn't in the Star Wars universe.
Really, I absolutely would. I think the character development is amazing. I think the storytelling about how a rebellion is born and how sacrifices are being made, and you're seeing all these characters having to give up this personal part of their life. I don't know. I've loved every part of it. But if you don't, that's for you, not
Yeah.
for you. So, for me, it's been the best Star Wars show that's come out.
CJ, you're pretty quiet.
Yeah, what you thinking, CJ?
Pipe in.
I'm
If
probably
you had
somewhere
to s-
between, you know,
Okay, I was gonna say if you had to
Rated out of 10.
side with one person, or David, are you in the middle as well?
No.
I think I would side with John's sentiment, but I would rate it higher. Like, I think it was well made. I think it was well written. I do agree with the fact, like, this wasn't something that this was probably the show when it was announced that I was least excited about, just because I didn't care. And I think that they did enough to make me interested in seeing season 2 because it was well made. But at the same time, like, the things that made me not care about it when I heard about it were, like, they're still kind of there. I don't know. I feel like the subject matter is something that's been explored a lot. I feel like it's oversaturated. And I feel like that's probably
Mm-hmm.
what hurts it the most. There's just so, like, all the movies that they've released that are extra are from this time period. They're kind of bouncing around the rebellion. Like, even the Mandalorian, there's, like, Rebels versus Empire. I don't know. I feel like this is just it's a subject that's safe, that they keep on exploring, and it's good. It's a good show. It's well made, but it's also, I don't know. It just is what I don't like. Honestly, I agree with John. I probably wouldn't watch it either. I think I would like it if I'd seen it, but I wouldn't go out of my way to watch it if it weren't a Star Wars show.
So, I will agree with you to an extent. Like, is this the show that Star Wars really needed right now? And I would say no, probably not. I think that something that would have started up the franchise a little bit better instead of just diving into something that we really knew probably would have been better for the franchise itself. But for me as a Star Wars fan, at least the fandom that I really like my favorite period in Star Wars is between episodes 3 and 4. Just that
That's
birth.
my least favorite.
Oh, really? I love it. I just
Yeah.
think there's so much.
What'd you say,
interesting
CJ?
stuff going on. It's his least favorite.
Oh,
Really?
I mean, I love the Old
Worse
Republic
than the
stuff too.
sequels?
CJ likes the
Sequels
We've already
sequels
addressed
could
I
have
know.
been the most
I'm
interesting
gonna keep
time
making
period.
fun of him for
it.
it.
It really could have been,
By
but
far, dude, it could have been
uh,
so interesting.
it used to
Whew.
be.
Yeah.
that's true. But like the Force Unleashed video
Luke, man.
games, I
Oh,
just
man.
loved them. Right? I just felt that it
Mhm.
was such a cool time where you have the Empire just getting so much control and power, and then just underneath it, you've got this weak rebellion that really seems like it has no chance, just slowly bubbling up and just gaining ground, gaining momentum, gaining legitimacy. And what I think this show has done so well is you're at the very beginning of those stages, and they did it. The thing that I think was done so well was the characters themselves. I think Andor's character makes perfect sense of who he is, where he came from, and how he gets from point A to B. But what really drives the show for me is Luthen. Like, just the mystery of who he is, first off, and what got him where he's going is something he has going for him. But then just the way he operates and what he's trying to do, and how far he's willing to go in each case, and how much he's willing to manipulate different people to do exactly the cause or follow the cause exactly the way he believes it needs to be run, and how effective he is with it. I just think it's really interesting seeing Mon Mothma making the sacrifice against her own morals, against her own belief to try to raise her daughter
Her
to
little
be a
meeting a nice little fascist boy.
exactly, and she wants her daughter to like not have to go through the same exact thing she does, but then to save the rebellion and try to keep money in her pocket so she can fund the rebellion, she sends her daughter off to marry this dude. Just all these things that the story has done to show just the average person fighting against the Empire in their own way to try to eventually get to the point where Luke Skywalker can come along and give the galaxy the hope they need to all join in. Like, I just think it's an amazing story, and it tells a story that we've never really gotten much of before, is how did this all start? And then we see that
But
around the galaxy there's
I'm
so
gonna
many different rebellions as well. So I love it.
end tirade.
Go
End
ahead.
tirade. Um
Pause.
so off of what CJ said and kind of into what you're saying, Jake. This show to me, it doesn't show us anything new big scale. We do not learn anything new about the Star Wars universe at this time.
Yeah, I don't think that was ever an
We
intention.
but that's what really, in my opinion, that's what part of what makes Star Wars Star Wars. What
Yeah.
happens in what you see impacts everything, because the Star Wars saga all about the Skywalkers, they impact everything. I mean, so all the side movies, whatever, they claim they present themselves to be a Star Wars story.
That's just not required for me to be Star Wars. Like I said before, if it's a good show in Star Wars, it doesn't break lore, and I enjoy the story, I'm fine with that. It doesn't all have to impact every little thing. Like I would want to see something thousands of years in the future or thousands of years in the past to have absolutely no impact on the Skywalker saga and Emperor Palpatine.
I guess
mean,
I want more.
I don't think
know
it's
I
necessarily
should.
just impacting the greater galaxy, but even just like exploring it more and
Not beating this. We need a meme
Yeah.
picture of a dead horse and
I
then
guess-
Lucasfilm beating the what was it, BBY to 20 or
You guys
15
just want to
BBY
see
to
something
0.
new branch out and tell the same story that we've gotten before. But I don't think that detracts from what this story is, though.
Is Mando? I'd see Mando. Part of the reason Mando is good is because it is a big impact on the story of Star Wars as a whole. It adds to, it's another brick in the big story.
It just bridges 6 and 7, and it doesn't
Yeah, but
impact
it's-
7, 8, 9 at all.
But it's Grogu. We touch Grogu, who is a link to the High Republic, a link to the Jedi.
Yeah, but he doesn't impact anything in no way.
He
To-
could.
But to this point, he
Luke
doesn't.
meeting Luke.
Which for what, a day?
That's a big impact.
No, it didn't impact anything. Luke still went and tried to kill his nephew. Mando
Well, we
has
don't
had
talk
no
about
impact
that.
on the entire galaxy.
I would disagree.
So far, he has had zero impact on the galaxy as a whole. Maybe
So
in season
far.
2 with
Uh,
Mandalore, or
I-
season 3.
3.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think what Mandalorian does is one, it's a totally new like period. even like from the
It
original
has
movie.
not been explored, yeah.
It hasn't been explored, so they can do their own thing. And I do think it has more, like, it has more Star Wars element. Like, I don't know, there's like a
certain
philosophy,
feel.
Star
I
Wars,
guess,
yeah.
behind Star Wars, behind like the Force and stuff. And I think that it's totally absent in this. And because of that, like, you really could, I think, make Andor just a sci-fi like thriller, but you can't make Mandalorian not a Star Wars show. It wouldn't make any sense. But with this, if you did, like, you swapped out names and made a different big evil empire, like, there's outside of Mon Mothma, honestly, but she's really the only link to like regular Star Wars stuff, I feel.
I mean, and Admiral Yularen are the only two characters
Yeah.
that are mentioned, really. But I guess I understand where you guys are coming from. Like, it doesn't have the Easter eggs and the people that are connected into it like we see in
not
all
even
Star Wars
Easter
stuff.
eggs, just overall themes.
Planet.
So
But in Star Wars, not every person. We've always said the Star Wars galaxy is extremely small. It seems like every person runs into each other all the time. I mean, that's really the way Star Wars galaxy is. When there's thousands of inhabited planets, yet we see all these people talk to each other all the time. The truth of the matter is, with how many planets there are, several senators wouldn't know other senators. They're in the same building. You know what I mean? But yet in Star Wars, we see everybody knowing everybody. I think that this, honestly and realistically, depicts the Empire and the Rebellion as it actually would be in a world without Jedi. Because this is what the galaxy without Jedi. This is what the galaxy is this time. This is how the galaxy would be at this time. No one would be saying, "May the Force be with you." No one would be saying, "Maybe the Jedi will help us," because they've
May
been
the Fifth
abandoned
be with
by
you,
them.
maybe?
Yeah, exactly. Okay? Revenge
Revenge of
of the Third. Revenge of the Sixth, whatever it is. But this is what the galaxy would look like. And I just think that they have done a great job of encapsulating regular people saying, "We need to fight this," and then saying, "You know what? And this is nothing I loved about it." They really got the Empire to push down on people and see how, when you are getting the quote from Leia, the stronger you grip, the more star systems slip through your fingers. They're seeing that the harder the Empire comes down, the more people rebel. Let's talk about the episode a little bit more itself. That's what we're here for,
Are we though?
I guess. But overall, I think we just hit on some major things that we liked, things we didn't. We have to go walk through the story. One thing I really liked is when Andor gets back and he's sitting in that shipyard again, and he starts listening to what's his face's manifesto.
So I purposely skipped the recap because I knew they were going to give us
What do you mean the
things
recap?
to the episode
At the
recap
beginning.
previously on.
Oh,
Give
sure.
me a little
Yeah,
hints.
yeah, yeah.
So I perfectly
Yeah.
purposely skipped that because I knew they were going to give little hints, and then on my second watch, or I didn't watch it twice actually, to kind of skim through it again, I saw that they mentioned the manifesto, so I was like, oh, phew, glad I didn't.
Yeah, that
God,
was-
I
I did
didn't
the same
watch
thing,
that.
thankfully.
I just want to point out, after we argued about this in episode 4, I was right. It did come back into play, John. So you owe me $5.
I didn't
I'm pretty sure that's what our bet was.
go anything. All I want to
Correct.
say is I was more right about the bigger scope of Star Wars. So
What do you mean?
with what they were making in the prison,
Oh, well, we were kind of all right about that.
I
It
was.
we all
I
said it
would
was
argue
part of the
more
Death
right.
Star, and you said it's probably Death Star laser. So, good job.
But you got to show the people why, because I think Tony and I would
what do you mean?
Tony Gilroy, the writer,
What do you mean? Show them why?
what I mentioned.
Oh,
in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
chat.
Yeah, so John and I were talking about this later after we watched the episode, and it's a very good point. The man who built the Death Star would eventually be the man who would come and be part of destroying it. Or no, that wasn't you. That was a different
No.
comment I read. What did you say, John?
No, I said so. I feel like Tony Gilroy would love the parallel of how we see these prisoners destroying their lives, building the
yeah.
very integral thing that will destroy planets.
Yes. And I thought it was cool that they would have a person building the planet killer who would eventually be a part of stealing the plans and shipping the plans to Princess Leia so the thing could be destroyed, too. A lot of poetry there, you know? It rhymes.
And it's interesting
Yeah.
that the person who designed the whole Death Star designed a little fault to the Death Star. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, wow. It's wild.
And then the son of the man who oversaw the building of the Death Star from his Imperial Star Destroyer destroyed the Death Star.
And then his son, or no, his sister's son. All right, moving on.
Created the new Death Star.
So we were essentially nailed everything on the head with this episode. Andor is going to go back. Were you guys surprised that Luthen was still wanting to kill Andor?
No.
No?
I was because I missed it the first time.
What do you mean? Oh,
I
because
just-
you didn't see it, hear him say it. I remember.
plot point
Yeah.
like
Yeah, it was just
Fly
I
over my head.
rewatched it last week, and it was just heavily implied.
Yeah.
There was no verbal commands. It was just like,
I was just a little
It was
surprised that
implied.
he had like no effort whatsoever to try to get him back into the fold. You know what I mean? Like I would have thought he
Yeah.
would have tried to kidnap him or get him and say, "Hey, we rescued you." You know,
Uh,
but at that point, if you do, you're either saying,
It
"Hey,
would've
we'll
been
rescue
kinda
you,"
out
and
of
if you don't, we'll
character.
kill you.
Well, it's just the Empire, man. Like, he's a celebrity now that everybody's trying to find
That's true.
more than anybody else in the entire galaxy.
Well, probably not more than Jedi.
Yeah, more than Jedi. Like,
You
they
think
don't
so?
know of a named Jedi that they're looking for besides
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan. Or is he dead?
also, I thought it was
Or-
really weird that the undercover dude in the ISB scene, the dude with the mustache,
Oh yeah.
he seemed really chill. I figured if they showed him again, he was gonna be all nervous and like sweaty and stuff, but he was like,
Just
yeah,
got
but-
off my shift.
a bunch of people died.
I'm in my
no
element.
survivors. And I
Oh, you
was
mean like the
like,
red-haired
oh.
dude? No, I
Yeah.
think he's
Lieutenant.
trained well on how to be a spy.
I don't know. He
yeah,
seemed a
he's
little
been there
shaky.
for like 6 years.
Yeah,
hasn't he?
and if he couldn't keep himself together, he would just be risking his family more. Like
But
has
he
to.
literally just had a daughter.
I just had a daughter. You don't see me sweating.
Yeah, but you're not lying to the U.S. government, I
That
hope.
you know of.
We
can
are live
check my
streaming.
taxes.
Tax evasion? Much?
Hey, accountant, shut up. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm a
IRS,
CPA. You shouldn't be telling
IRS.
that to me.
What do you mean? I pay my taxes. I'm a teacher.
TurboTax.
I don't have any taxes to
don't-
hide. Besides my meth labs, that we have in the basement.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we have the Empire looking for him. We've got Luthen looking for him. So he shows up and his friends were pretty eager to help him. I thought that was a little bit of a mixed message to what we saw last time he was in town.
True.
I think that
I mean,
the more that they've
yeah.
seen the Empire come down on him, they kind of understand why he did what he did. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
They also probably just feel bad because his mom died.
Yeah, that's true.
yeah,
That's
that
a good
too.
point. That's a good point.
You can get
I did
some
forget about
sympathy
that part.
points.
Minor plot
I mean,
hole.
she was gonna die anyway, so should they really be surprised?
So
It's
something I
not
had,
like she did anything. She
They
just
probably
stayed
were
inside
running
all
out
day.
of bricks.
She didn't mean, man. She was like a leader of the town. So something
like,
I had a
None
question
that we
about.
saw, like
We never
that,
saw her
yeah,
do
I know.
anything besides
That
sit
really
on the
threw me
couch.
off.
I don't think so. I think it's pretty easy for them to like talk about how she was a president of the Sisters of Ferrix and
Well, yeah.
she's a
But we also never
well-respected
saw
person.
them
I don't
do
need to
anything.
see her, actually campaigning in the streets. I can put two and two together.
No, but you think a bunch of people would stop by her and be like, "You are going to the hospital. We don't care what you think
Yeah.
because you're crazy and old." And
But that's
you're
the
not gonna
thing.
know
She's a
better."
respected person. She gets to make her own wishes. Like, and every culture is different too. Like, if the people want to choose if they want medication or not. I'm honestly, even in America, if you don't want medication, you can deny treatment.
Can you though?
Yes, absolutely. You can say I
So
deny
you can
treatment.
be euthanized.
Huh?
You can be euthanized.
You can be euthanized. That has nothing to do with it, though.
You can't be euthanized in America.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying you
Was she
can deny
euthanized?
like if I have cancer and I'm dying and my family says come, we're taking you to the hospital, I can say no, I'm denying treatment. I do
But I
not want
believe she
treatment.
was to a point where she couldn't even say yes or no.
Yes, she did. She said
She was like-
everything. She says I choose
But you don't
not
think
to leave."
between then and death there was a point where she wasn't able to speak?
John, she
I
got
think
up
she
and made a speech
established
about
it
her
before-
dying.
Before she got to that point, though.
Yeah, she made
She
her
what?
Like, it was pretty...
she made her
I don't
wishes
know, I
clear.
feel like... Yeah, because
And no one tried to override that?
Yeah, they did.
I don't
I would've-
know
Like,
how
I
you're
don't
getting
wanna-
hung up on something like this.
I would have helped you, Marva. I just want you to know. I would have helped you while these other
It's just-
daughters Didn't want to help you.
It's blowing my mind. You're like, it doesn't make sense. She would have been in a hospital.
Just
No,
get one of those
John.
stims. Where's Cal Kestis when
Yeah.
you need him?
BD. The BD's right there. Wait, I got you guys. I've always wanted an opportunity to do this.
Pull out a stim.
Wait.
So I love how that one scene where the two guys are talking, Brazo and the guy, and he's like, "Man, can you believe Andor came in last
Just
night?
right out in the open.
Woo!
Oh man.
We probably shouldn't tell anyone."
And they're like,
Oh,
wait.
hey,
shh.
Oh, you guy in the background, you heard? Oh wait,
Hey,
make sure no
I'm
one
glad
else
that they
knows.
solved
Let's talk about it in the bar
problem
too.
of public talking from Kenobi, at least.
Yeah, honestly, it was better
Okay,
than.
even was it though? Because earlier in
No,
the
it
show,
was the
Luthen
exact
and Bix,
same thing, dude.
Luthen
The
and Bix
exact
were talking
same
to each
thing.
other, and he was like just walking wide in the open in the streets.
Yeah, well, and they talked about it in the bar. Like, they.
Mm.
Yeah. I guess you can just kind of assume not everyone's listening to every word you say, but you probably shouldn't.
They literally
Probably
like
shouldn't.
talk. They did. He's literally like, "Don't tell me what secret you're."
Oh, that was a joke,
Yeah.
David. He was like saying, "Oh wait, I don't want to know anything that I shouldn't know." But the whole reason
he's getting
was
him
trying to
drunk
know
so that he would
was
tell them.
intentionally.
Yeah, he
I-
was trying to bait him. He was trying
Yeah.
to get him drunk.
Yeah.
Slip a roofie in his, slip a death stick in his drink.
Yeah, and the guy kind of gave it away.
Yeah, well, he was drunk.
Yeah,
so.
but that dude wasn't even like, I wouldn't be so sure.
Yeah.
He died
Bye
though,
bye.
so it's okay.
Death stick. He did die. That's what he deserves.
They really focused on his death
Right.
too. It was
Yeah, for
kinda
how
odd.
small the character he was, they're like, somebody needs to die. Let's just show this guy die.
like
I
of
thought
all
that
the
kid,
things to linger on though.
I
I wanted
thought
them to
that
linger
kid
on
would
this
die.
scene. Yeah, me too.
you know what I mean? For how much they showed him at the beginning of the episode, and how much they showed him throughout it, I thought he died. Rachel made a good point. She says he's got to be a big part of season 2, with how much they focused on him.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, I don't know anything about him. He could be a
Didn't say a
cool
word.
character. Yeah. Now he was the son of the guy who
Yeah,
owned
the shop owner.
that
Yeah.
Bix would radio out of.
Yeah, he started the third episode, the ta 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 ta.
Oh, that
ta,
kid did?
ta 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 ta. No, his dad.
Oh yeah, I know his dad did. Yeah, his
Yeah.
dad was always looking out for Bix. So
Probably
and
had a
then
thing
that
for the
kid
old
got
Bix.
so his dad got hung after he got tortured.
Yep.
And then that kid hated the Empire for it. It was kind of taking me a minute to figure it out until I saw the hologram. And I was like, oh, that guy.
Keep up.
Yeah.
Keep up, man.
Once they showed the hologram,
Some
I
of
figured it out.
us actually watch this show, so we know why we don't like it.
I'm gonna start having my own podcast. I can't
John,
take
you watch it
You
twice.
probably should.
No,
I did not watch this one twice.
Okay, but you've watched every other episode twice.
Yeah, because so I watch it once at work during lunch, so I'm kind of like working and
Yeah.
watching, and then I watch it again at home when I get back
Yeah.
home.
I watched this one twice today. I really enjoyed it, but I think you guys are aware of that.
Tell us why you enjoyed it.
I can. I've got more.
I like
There honestly are more things. David, you liked it. What are some things you liked or
Yeah.
disliked about it?
I mean, I just like the more serious storytelling.
Me too. I
Yeah,
mean, would you
true.
guys
Revenge
agree-
of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith wasn't serious enough for me. It's a little too jokey.
Revenge of the Sith wasn't
I mean-
serious
Yeah.
enough for you?
He's
It's been
being
17 years.
I need more
sarcastic.
serious. I need more serious Star Wars
17
like
No.
Andor.
years.
This is far more serious than like compare this to Kenobi. It's far and away much better show in my opinion. Would,
Oh,
would anyone disagree
dude.
with that?
Yeah, but Kenobi's
No, I wouldn't
bad.
disagree with that,
So-
but Kenobi should have been more serious. Kenobi could have been like a great show for PTSD awareness, blah, all that stuff. Like it could, Kenobi should have been PTSD'd out of his mind. He should have needed death sticks to remain calm. That's how much PSD he should have had.
He had a death stick prescription.
Yes, but that's another conversation that
They have a prescription for those? Oh.
Medicinal death
They
sticks.
should.
Why did they have to sell them in the canteen?
It's medicinal death sticks. Big difference between recreational death sticks.
What were we talking about?
Spice.
Oh yeah, how about the scene where Mon Mothma's like, "You're gambling."
Did you
Yeah.
not understand
not.
that?
Yeah, did
I
you
did
understand
at
that?
first,
Yes.
but
Yeah,
I caught on.
she was
Yeah.
basically trying because she knew the driver was
Gonna listen.
keeping,
Yes.
and he's like,
Yeah.
"This is gonna explain why all the money's gone."
Yeah, I think it kind of helps a little bit too. And apparently he has had a gambling issue before.
Yeah. But
So it
not
was a
this
good
time.
cover. So now people be like, oh, all the money missing is from.
Which they did admit that
Poor guy,
later
Yeah.
when the driver met with the other ISB agent that
Mm-hmm.
Deidre kind of was beefing with.
Fed it right to him.
Oh man.
At first, I was like, how do you think he's not listening? I was like, wait a second. It kind of clicked. I was like, okay. I
Playing
get
the
you.
long game.
Yeah. Mon Mothma, I feel like they could have done more with her character.
Yep.
I think we're gonna see more with her character in season 2, where she
I
actually.
really hope so, man.
See, I think that you guys are.
Expecting too much?
You're just wanting more than what the show
Wanting more Star
is.
Wars?
You're wanting more
I
than what the
just
show
want a little
is.
more. I want a little more rebellion.
That's the thing. It's just starting. It's just at the very beginning.
8 hours later.
I
I'm-
want them to
I'm all
speed it
for
up
it.
a little.
I don't. I would love it.
Just
to
a
continue.
little.
Well, we know for a fact season 2 is gonna have 3-episode arcs covering.
This is me.
Is it 4-episode arcs or 3-episode arcs?
I don't know.
It's 3-episode arcs, all covering 4 years.
This show didn't even really have 3-episode arcs, so who
no,
knows?
it didn't. But that's what's claimed. I believe that the actors and producer himself have said that. So it should move much quicker. But this is really, I mean, like you said, the birth of the rebellion, but more so just the birth of how Andor gets involved.
Then
with it.
call
that's
it Birth of the
exactly-
Rebellion.
It is about Andor.
But Andor is not the birth of the rebellion. Andor is some rando
No,
character
but
we
that's
saw
the
in
thing.
Rogue One.
He's not a random
died.
character. He's like the second leading character. Of the best
Give me a
movie
Jyn
Disney has
Erso
given.
show. Give me a Jyn Erso show.
Really? She did so much less.
If it's a good story and it's in the Star Wars universe.
I mean, I'd watch it, but I'm
It's a
saying,
female
are you
lead.
saying over Andor?
it gives them so many check
Female
marks.
lead.
Would you rather have
Strong
Jyn
point,
Erso
John.
over Andor?
At this point, yes.
I would not. Jyn
Who's-
Erso didn't have an interesting life besides fighting along Saw Gerrera.
Her father? Who's her father?
She didn't know her father from the time she was 4 years old.
Sounds like a great Star Wars
Oh
story.
my gosh.
Orphans. You mean Jedi? Are we talking about Jedi?
That is a prime Star Wars theme you got right there.
You
Orphans?
use who her father is as an interesting fact, but she didn't talk to him for 15 years.
I never
Yeah.
knew my father.
All the Star Wars dads, they're always gone.
Oh my god.
I'm off to go get some blue milk.
See you, son.
Off to join the Empire. Off to blow up a planet or two.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, it's
I don't know. I just
Off to
think
make something that blows up planets.
I think that the show knew that what it wanted to do is tell a story about how a man changed from a man looking for himself to a man who wanted to join a cause bigger than himself. And that's exactly what the show did. Through every episode, we see how the Empire has affected him and affected his journey. And we get to this point where he sees the speech that his mother Marva made about wake up, stop acting like life is okay under the Empire, and fight back and make your life worth something, is what eventually that brought other people, and in part him as well, to eventually say, you know what? I'm going to fight back. I'm waking up and fighting back. And that whole entire show took 12 episodes, or whatever it was, to do this.
8.5 hours.
And I think 8.5 hours to do it is great because it was done well. And we know all these characters so well. And we know the motivations and the personalities of them. I love that. If that's not
I
the
just
story
don't-
type you like, that's fine. But
The
I
only
do.
characters I need to know about are Luthen. Don't need to really know about Andor personally. Mothma. Maybe a little bit more Deidre.
You'll
That's
learn.
about it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that we just
Don't
want
care about
different
Vel.
different things
Vel,
in Star Wars.
Cinta, Skeen, all those other people.
Skeen. He's
Like,
dead. He's
Okay,
dead.
great. I know that Skeen is a scumbag.
I just think
I know
some
that
characters
Vel and
are
Cinta
interesting, are a good
lovers.
part of telling a
Cool.
good story. Personally. But we just want different things in Star Wars. That's fine, John. If we have to get divorced, we just want different things.
Yeah, I mean,
No, I'm just playing. Honestly, like I think that it's a good thing that we're
Maybe.
getting different types of shows. Like I also like Mando. I probably liked Kenobi more than the three of you did. Although the more I've thought about it, the less I liked it. Like I will never watch the whole series again.
mm-mm.
I will, however, watch that like what's that kid? The
Kai
guy
Cut.
The Kai cut. Like that was legitimately good. Not great. It was good. But like, I think that it's okay for us to have different types of Star Wars that some people like more than others. I think that's fine.
Here's how they should have done it. 12 episodes, 3 arcs. Andor arc, Mothma arc, Luthen arc. The final arc is them converging. I would have liked that a lot better.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think.
Only give each character 3 episodes, because you start doing more than 3 episodes, we get episode 1 and 2 that mean nothing. A handful of more episodes where really nothing much happens.
I just don't want. I don't feel like you have to have this penultimate big important moment for an episode to mean something. Like, I think character development and an interesting story in itself is a worthwhile episode. Like, we learn a lot about who Andor is and what he's doing and why he's doing it from those first 2 episodes. Like, were they the
Also,
most
just so you
interesting
know,
in the world? No, but we learned.
penultimate means the second to last, so that was
okay.
last week's episode.
Okay, thank you.
Just saying.
I think so. I agree with what you're saying. Not every episode has to have like an ultimate like climactic moment.
Climactic. That's what I was looking
But
for. Thank you.
I do feel like the series does, and to be honest, I think that's probably why I was a little underwhelmed. 'Cause I don't feel like this. Like, I understand they wanted it to be the riot and stuff, but especially when it's about Andor, like, I don't feel like the series had an ultimate moment. I feel like
There's no tension. Yeah.
I mean, there was tension as far as like, will he get captured or not? But like, since you know kind of where the story goes, or isn't really.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, they're making all of
that.
these shows where we kind of already know the ending.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why the Mando has such an advantage, is because they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But
really
there's
is.
no like, they're kind of digging themselves a hole. Like, you can't build a ton of tension because we know Mon Mothma's going to be fine. We don't know anything about Luthen, so they could do something with Luthen, but he's kind of out of it alive. We know Andor. We know exactly when Andor dies.
Yeah.
So,
which is why the Acolyte, I think, is going to be great.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I actually like that sentiment a lot. Like, I do agree that is a problem with some of the shows, but I think that the show understands that is just a part of its identity. You know what I mean? And if you as a fan don't come into it understanding that that's going to be a part of the show, then it's going to be a disappointing thing. I get that. Now, what I would agree with is, like, especially in this episode, you want the final episode to be climactic, right? And we did not really get that, because all that really happens with Andor, the whole time, he's just using the funeral as a chance to have a distraction. And the whole time, he's just walking around with Bix in the background. And he really only comes across one Death Trooper, or Dark Trooper. Dark Trooper?
Shadow Trooper.
Is that what they're calling these ones?
They're in Rogue One.
Yeah, they're not called Shadow Troopers. They're called
They're Death Troopers.
Death Troopers?
Dark Troopers are the ones in Mando.
Yeah, and
Death Troopers
Shadow
are just
they're-
are
I like
not these.
Shadow Troopers. Do they have
They
Shadow
actually
Troopers?
look like just stormtroopers. They have stormtrooper helmets that are black.
Anyways, so the Death Troopers,
Oh.
he comes across one of them, and then the rest of the episode, for a bigger
Kills
show
it a
called
little
Andor-
too easily.
I mean, if you shoot someone in the neck, they're dead. But
it was a little weird that the guy was just like...
yeah,
I liked it when Bix just shanked the one dude.
that wasn't
fun.
Bix. That
was
Cinta.
Cinta.
that was Cinta.
Cinta, whatever.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I
He
just
was
thought-
built different because he had no blood.
What do you mean she was covered in blood?
What?
Her hand was covered in blood.
They showed a close-up on the knife, and it was like shiny clean.
Did she wipe it? Did she wipe it?
She might have wiped it
No.
on the clothes as she pulled it out.
On the way out, I imagine she wiped it.
Yeah.
How about, all right, on a scale of 1 to awkward, 1 to awkward,
Cyril.
how would you rate the sexual tension?
Gosh.
It's so weird. I was like, please don't kiss. That would make
Just
no sense.
literally just please make out so I can make fun of this show even more. Please.
I was like,
That was too funny.
that would make absolutely no sense for them to be in the middle of this ride. It's like, ah. I was very glad they did not. She's like,
you know,
feel it, the tension.
Her saying I should thank you right now was the PG version of that line.
That's what he wanted to hear. So are they going to be
I'm sure-
the Empire's power couple in season 2?
I hope so. Oh my goodness, I hope so.
She's going to like hire him to replace the spy that died.
I can do
I
that.
still don't understand. I don't know. I feel like his story kind of went nowhere this
Oh,
season.
it absolutely did. It was sad.
Usually when I see
Flatline.
things like that, my guess is that stuff was cut out in the editing process.
Yeah.
When like a story doesn't make sense,
Doesn't
it's like
matter.
why a character exists. I'm usually like somewhere the editor must have said episode's too long, gotta cut out this. But then like you still have
Yeah,
this
but
weird
he has
scene.
so many solo scenes though.
Yes. Yeah.
There's
He's
way
just,
too
like,
many
doing
solo
stuff.
scenes. For
I would very
all of
much
his stuff to
agree.
get cut.
Anytime we go to Cyril, I'm just like, why?
I feel
That-
like
that's probably
this
my
was
major
like
flaw.
season 0.5 of Serial. They'll probably wrap it up in season 2, but they don't give enough in season 1 for it to be its own thing, so
Right.
it's just kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But I'm
it
sure
was
they'll
weird.
bring him back and he'll
He-
be important somehow. Because if
Exactly.
not,
He must
a
have
confusing direction.
he must have an important role in season 2, and they wanted to have him be brought in season 1.
They're gonna change his name from Cyril to Callus.
Mm.
And he's gonna dye his hair blonde.
That would be a massacre of this
And
of a
grow
character.
a beard.
Oh, that's not too hard.
Oh, maybe for him. You don't know.
Yeah, it looks like he doesn't grow beards.
In all of his interviews, he's got the bushiest
Yeah,
beard
I
you've
saw
ever
that
seen.
too, Yeah,
Really?
he
Yeah.
does.
That's funny.
Strange. I don't know
Um.
what I would think about that.
All right. Overall, this episode, what do you give it?
I liked it better.
I would
than the
give it,
last
like,
one.
I would give it like a 6 or a 7, where it's good, but it's just like good.
What's it say?
Sense of breathing. He's showing the knife.
Oh, okay. I mean, is there blood?
Speak, John. Say
I
something.
can't see, John. You have to tell us. It's too blurry. It's too blurry, John. We can't see.
Turn on the audio and speak, so it actually shows it big.
Oh, I'm muted
Yes.
because I didn't want you to. Hang on, let me.
What?
let me-
Is there no blood? Just say there's no blood. I'll believe you.
Oh, there we
Oh my goodness, John. Why?
go. I don't. I just see a shadow, dude. I
Yeah,
can't see
we
jack.
can't see squat, John.
Look at the top ridge. There's no blood.
I just see the light.
I can see.
Yeah, if there was blood, it would be
Oh.
red, not light.
Okay, I just said tell me there's no blood. I just can't tell.
I prefer to show, not tell.
Okay.
Need a different medium. Smoke
So
signal.
6, 7-ish, CJ. What you, David?
Let's go. What did I say last time? 7.
I think you said like a 7.
Just slightly higher. I'd say, yeah, like a 0.25% higher, like 7.5, 7.25, something like that.
Yeah, and I liked this way more than any of the Obi-Wan stuff for most of it, aside from a few scenes. I'd probably give this episode like an 8, 8.5. The show overall, I'd probably give a 9. I really enjoyed it. 9, 9.5. John?
This episode, like a whatever average is
6.
5, 6.
But the show is
Yeah. It wasn't very satisfying for me.
Sure. I understand that sentiment. What about
Show
the
as a
show as
whole?
a whole?
6.1. Nah, 7. I'll give it a 7.
Would you watch season 2?
Well, yeah, like any Star Wars fan, I will watch any Star Wars content at least once.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I will never be one of those people that will say, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch that," but it's horrible.
Right.
Like I will watch it and then
Lego
decide
Star
what it
Wars
is.
Freemaker Adventures.
Horrible.
Sounds like-
Never seen it.
Sounds like guilty pleasure.
Show as
I
a
mean,
whole.
there-
CJ?
Is that the one where I've seen some clips where
It's
it's,
the one
like,
with Jack 14 in it. The Jack 14 Starfire.
but what's the Lego Star Wars where it's like actual Clone Wars clips with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they've got Yoda and
I
they've
don't
got the
remember.
actual voice actors
I know what
for
you're
it.
talking about.
It's
but
on
I
Disney
don't
Plus.
remember.
You can watch it on Disney Plus. It's
Really
called like Lego Shorts or something like that.
Yeah.
CJ, what'd you get the show as a whole?
I'd probably give it a 7 to 8. I think it was solid, and honestly, it kind of sticks the landing. But like instead of doing a fancy dismount, it just does like a single flip. It's like, yeah, you stuck it. But
Yep. Yeah, I
Like,
think that's a good analogy actually.
Yep.
And David?
8's fine.
Yeah.
I think it's an 8.
Yeah, I think I think that the difference of opinions here is just more so what you're looking for out of Star Wars, in my opinion, because I think we would all agree the show is extremely well made, right?
I mean, there are some little inconsistent. There's the ability to nitpick every single episode and
Sure.
find things that are like, all right,
But what show
doesn't
can you
match.
not do that in?
Breaking Bad. I don't know.
I just watched I can point out some really bad Breaking Bad stuff right now. Every episode, I'm like, really? But
Well, and it's even things where it's like, all right, on set, how does this not look janky? How do you have someone walking through the town talking extremely loud, and then as soon as the person hears, then they decide, all right, we should talk quiet. Like stuff like that, where it's like, really? Is that? Can you be a little more creative in how this person's gonna find out this information?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
crosses the campy threshold where a show that is presenting itself to be very grounded.
Sure.
So there's a higher expectation.
But I think that this is the best acting we've ever seen in any Star Wars, probably. Like, period.
Besides Ewan McGregor.
No, I'm talking about like in an entire production. I'm not saying like they had the best actors. I'm saying as a whole, like there's not a character where like, man, that character had bad acting. Like not one.
Cyril.
No, Cyril portrayed a creepy dude pretty well.
He was very successfully creepy, I would argue.
Some of the junkyard owner, he was a little weird in the first half of the show.
Trouble thinking anything weird about
Pegla.
Oh, the one thing I wanted to ask you guys that I forgot to. So do you think that they started the ceremony on purpose for Andor to have a distraction?
Started early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would
Because
make
it seemed
sense.
like the drum dude went up top to start hitting that anvil like on purpose to start get things going.
Oh, they said it was early. They said it was 4 hours early.
Yeah, but did they do it on purpose for the purpose of giving Andor a?
They have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the one
believe
dude's
so.
like invested in the.
I thought so. All right, cool. All right, well, I think we'll play some Call of Duty. You guys want to join?
Call of Duty. A little Warzone. Johnny.
Maybe I'll find someone who shares the same opinions as me.
I think David and CJ are more on your side than I am, or than
That's
they're
true.
on mine.
Well, yeah.
Than they are on mine.
Yeah.
Like, I
Some of
enjoyed
us
it,
here
but-
aren't Disney shills yet.
Oh
Some
my
of us.
gosh! Please.
I enjoyed it, but
Please, CJ likes The Last Jedi. Let's remember that, okay? Okay.
And I respect him for
Oh
it
my
more.
gosh!
than someone who
You
likes
almost made me
Andor.
throw my baby.
John.
Wow.
Offend
Wow.
me not.
No. I'm just playing.
I
All is
respect
fair.
creativity.
All is fair.
If thy riot I offend thee, pluck it out.
David, sometimes I worry about you. All right, guys. We'll be back. We want to try to get something else going before the next show comes out. So maybe something once a month until then. We'll have to discuss some things. I've got some ideas of working up in the old noggin. Some
You know, we
topics
could
for us
talk
to
about the
discuss.
Force and what that really means.
We've done that between every show. We've discussed that, but we've never got
Yeah.
every show, at the end of
we-
every series, we say we should talk. You say we should talk about.
I've
that,
kind of
which-
abandoned that idea, but we'll come up with something for you.
Or we could
guys.
watch through all the original 6.
We started.
We did that with
doing
Phantom, didn't we?
Yes.
We did that with
We
Phantom.
did.
Yeah, we could do it with Attack of the Clones.
Made it through
next.
one.
Because George believes you should start with episode 1.
Isn't that weird?
Did he say that?
He did.
Oh yeah.
He says it's made to watch chronologically. When
Wow.
I
His
watch
reason
it-
is interesting though, because he says you're supposed to know that Anakin becomes Darth Vader, and that Darth Vader isn't some big bad guy. He's a pathetic
yeah.
person who's just concerned about keeping the people around him, and he doesn't actually have honorable motives. He's just pathetic is the word he used, which is
No,
interesting.
and he really is. Honestly, it's one of the biggest questions in life for me is how to introduce my children to Star Wars. Like, because I don't want to do it the wrong way. You know, I want them to love it as much as I do. So
I think
like,
it depends.
I'd do 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3.
yeah, but like, so me as, for instance, my dad didn't let me watch 1, 2, and 3 until I'd watched 4, 5, 6 probably like 100 times each.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and then I was able to.
okay. So I do
Granted,
not agree with that.
Attack of the
because-
Clones was like the first movie I ever saw in theaters. But...
Yeah.
See,
Oh.
It's one of my
unfortunately, I never saw any of them in theaters.
Aw, not even 3?
Because
I saw three.
growing up, I was very sensitive to intense images in movies. So I
Baby.
was like
Oh,
hesitant
you're
to
like my
watch
brother.
episode
Dad,
3.
he's on fire!
Nightmares!
We're making
So even
fun
like
of
the
little John, we're
changeling,
jerks.
the changeling in Attack of the Clones
Really?
like freaked me out.
Oh man.
Because it was like a human changing. It was kind of like the psychological aspect
was
of a
ET.
human
Oh
changing
no, I remember
into
when I
a
was a kid, she turned me on.
freaky
Man.
creature.
Yeah.
I like them freaky alien girls.
I think
Don't tell Rachel.
I think he is a she. I think she.
Honestly, Star Wars has been part of my life for so long that I really have no idea what order I saw it in.
Yeah.
I literally have no idea.
Really?
All I know is I watched episode 1 a ton.
All I know is that when I went to see Revenge of the Sith, my dad was living in Texas because he got a new job, and we as a family hadn't moved down yet. So he went and saw it, and somehow got like an early pass to see it at 6 p.m. one night, and told us it was awesome. Well, we had tickets to go see it, but the closest ticket we could get was in Monroe, Michigan, which was like an hour and a half away from where we lived. So we drove like an hour and a half to this little dinky theater in Monroe,
Wow.
Michigan. And we got there, and the guy, we couldn't, this is like before everyone had GPSs on their phones. And we were trying to get there, we couldn't find the theater, and a guy...
Did you have a Garmin or MapQuest?
We had MapQuest.
Probably MapQuest.
MapQuest. So
Papers.
we asked this guy how to get there, and he said, go this way, this way, this way. And me being, when did this come out, 2005? I was 10 years old.
Yep.
We had like 8 people in our minivan because we had another family with us. And my mom's like, which way do we go? I said, it was left, Mom. It was left. And everyone was like, no, it's right. I said, look, I know you guys are older than me, but my whole life I've had an amazing memory. It was left. Well, needless to say, it was right.
Oh, no.
So we missed the opening credits, and we come in, and I just see like Anakin chopping off Dooku's head. I was like, wait, what?
You had one job.
Oh, it's so bad. So bad.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was my fault.
They should have just
Did
had
you
all
stay
the kids.
afterwards and watch the beginning?
Huh?
Did you?
Yeah,
stay
I
afterwards?
actually I
Yeah.
hopped into the next showing. I could watch the beginning.
Right.
So.
Right. I can appreciate that a little better.
Man. That
But
would've
I,
been
when I
but I
watched it.
remember. But we missed the opening credits though. When we came into the next.
Oh, yeah,
one,
the crawl.
Yeah, when we came into the next one, we saw they were just like still flying their ships, like Anakin and Obi-Wan.
You missed that
Starfighter.
scene.
No, I
Yep.
saw that. I saw that, but like the credits were
Oh.
just finishing. So it wasn't until it came out on DVD and I saw it maybe again like 2 years later that I was reading the opening crawl and I was like, I've never seen this before. I was like, oh yeah, it's because I'd never seen this before. I was reading through it and I was like, I've never read that. Yeah. So that was
Yeah.
my Revenge of the Sith experience. But I remember when he cut off Dooku's head and hands, my mom was like, don't look! Because my dad wasn't there. So I was like, I'm looking.
I was not expecting that. I was like, oh shoot.
Man, that movie. I don't remember if I cried or not because I was a kid.
Oh, I sure did.
I don't
Oh,
think
Jedi
I
died.
cried.
Only movies I remember crying in were all the Toy Story movies. They get me. every
Attack of the
time.
Clones. Attack of the Clones. When he's
I meant in the
saying
theaters.
goodbye to his in the theaters.
Yeah.
For me, it was I would always get choked up as a kid when he was saying goodbye to his mom,
Oh yeah.
and he's like
Me?
grabbing the sand. And he's like, "I miss you
I love.
so much," and he's like
you.
gritting his teeth as he's saying it, and it's so emotional.
I love
Such
And
great
then-
acting.
R2 comes out at the back and is like, "Beep beep 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 beep." I'm like, trying to have a moment here.
You're way too happy.
I always cried in Attack of the Clones when Padme went off screen.
Uh,
Yeah, that's a tragedy, especially when she's wearing her
Whoa, whoa, whoa! This is a PG
John.
show,
her
John.
clothes.
Her
that are
clothes.
modest.
Yeah, it's
John.
super sad when she was wearing her clothes. Yikes.
That's not what I.
Michaela!
That's not the words.
Or wait, that's not her name. What's her name?
You just called her Michaela. Oh my.
What was it? I
goodness.
forgot.
Like,
mm.
I don't know. I'll have to ask
up.
Michaela.
I'll have to look it up. I had.
It's
it.
Michaela, not my lady.
but anyways, back to the topic at hand.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I had to watch A New Hope a bajillion times before watching anything else. And then one day, one of my mom's friends comes over, or we go to her place. I'm stuck hanging out with my mom, And she pulls out some videos, and what does she have? 5 and 6. I'm like,
There's
What?
more?
What is this?
and I was like, man, I didn't know that they had 2 more of these. Like, I thought it was over.
That's what the people in 77 thought too. They didn't do sequels back then.
Yeah, I was like, what? There's more? And then I watched 5, and I was like, ah, this is traumatizing. And then I watched 6, and I was like, oh, this is dope.
Wait, 5. What was
Jedi's are
traumatizing
cool.
about 5?
Him getting his hand chopped off.
Everyone's just
Or
Luke getting
dying.
his hand cut off.
Yeah, the hand cut off. Darth Vader.
Wampa eating him.
Yep. There's a
And
lot.
I wish
of
I
things,
could
like
remember.
Then
The
he's
worm.
left in the snow forever.
The worm. There's a lot, man.
The worm. Did you just call it the worm?
I did.
And the Minoc on the
Wait, is my other camera the one that's off? Whoops.
Nah,
Yes.
Minocs weren't that bad. They're small.
Minox scared the crap out of me because they looked like the
it was the jump scare. It
eels.
was like
the eels.
it was like
that we
you
had
saw
at
the
Lake
little-
Erie.
That's fair. That probably got me. I'm
the
sure.
little sucky thingy on the windshield.
And then Dagobah. Creepy. Yoda. Creepy. Yoda reminded me of my uncle that did things.
What?
No. Is it the crazy one?
I'm just
No.
kidding. My uncles are all nice gentlemen.
Yep, sure they are.
Like your
There
uncle,
they are.
the one
What's the
that,
statute of
we went to his
limitations?
house.
All right. Well, on that note, I think I need to go change her diapers. So
Before
her
you
head's been
say
looking straight
anything
at the
else
ceiling the whole
incriminating.
night. So.
Good luck with that.
All right, guys. Thanks so much. It's been a great season. I've enjoyed the show apparently far more than my
He
co-hosts
speaks for
have.
him. He speaks for
But,
himself.
hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys enjoyed watching our show. We will be back at some point in time. We know we got Mando Season 3 coming up, Bad Batch Season 2, Ahsoka Season 1. Should be a fun 2023. We'll be here covering it all, and hopefully some things in between. Until then, may the Force be with you always.
Always.
Look forward to an actual Star Wars show. It's